The value of the bill. One day, a psychology teacher started his seminar in an unusual way. He held up a $50 bill and asked if there were anyone willing to receive this bill. Many in the audience raised their hands. Then he addressed anyone who didn't raise their hands. It turned out that they also would not mind getting a bill, but they were too shy to raise their hand. "All right, I'll give you the bill, but before any of you get it, I'll do something with it," the psychologist continued. He crumpled up the bill and then asked if anyone still wanted it. And again, almost everyone in the hall raised their hands. "Then I do the following," he said, and, throwing this crumpled bill on the floor, I lightly dragged it with my shoe on the dirty floor. And he picked up the bill. It was crumpled and dirty. "Well, who of you needs it in this form?" And everyone raised their hands again. "Dear friends," said the psychology teacher, "we have just received an object lesson. Despite all that I did with the bill, you all wanted to get it, because it has not lost its value. She's still a $50 bill. It often happens in our life that we find ourselves thrown out of the saddle, trampled, lying on the floor. These are the realities of our life. In such situations, we feel worthless. But no matter what happens, we will not lose our true value. Dirty or clean, crumpled or ironed, we will always have the value that we represent. Harmony in relations between people. One day, Heng Shi was sitting on the shore of a small but very picturesque lake with one of his students. The air was filled with subtle aromas of nature. The wind had almost died down, and the mirrored surface of the reservoir reflected everything around it with incredible clarity. The perfection of nature, its balance and purity, involuntarily gave rise to thoughts of harmony. Therefore, after some time, Heng Shi turned to his disciple with a question. "Yang Li, tell me, when do you think there will be complete harmony in human relations?" Young and inquisitive Yang Li, who often accompanied the teacher on his walks, thought about it. After a while, looking at the identity of nature and its reflection in the lake, he said, "It seems to me that harmony in relations between people will come only when all people come to a common opinion, will think the same way, become like a reflection of each other. Then there will be no disagreements, no disputes." The student said dreamily and added sadly, "But is this possible?" "No," said Heng Shi thoughtfully, "it's impossible, and it's not necessary. After all, in this case, there would be no harmony, but a complete depersonalization of a person, the loss of his inner self, individuality. People would become not so much a reflection as a shadow of each other." After a short silence, the sage added, "Harmony in human relations will become possible only when each person strives not for unity of opinion or imitation of others, but for respect for the right of another person to express their individuality." Father, Son and Donkey. One day a father with his son and a donkey was traveling through the dusty streets of the city in the midday heat. The father was sitting astride a donkey, and the son was leading him by the bridle. "Poor boy," said a passerby. "His little legs can barely keep up with the donkey. How can you sit lazily on a donkey when you see that the boy is completely exhausted?" His father took his words to heart. When they turned the corner, he got off the donkey and told his son to get on it. Very soon they met another person. In a loud voice he said, "How not to be ashamed? The boy sits astride a donkey like a sultan, and his poor old father runs after him." The boy was very upset by these words and asked his father to sit on the donkey behind him. "Good people, have you seen anything like this anywhere?" the woman screamed. "So torment an animal. The poor donkey's spine has already sagged, and the old and young idlers are sitting on it as if it were a sofa. Oh, unhappy creature!" Without saying a word, the father and son, ashamed, got off the donkey. As soon as they took a few steps, a man they met began to mock them. "Why is your donkey doing nothing, bringing no benefit and not even carrying any of you on himself?" The father shoved a handful of straw into the donkey and put his hand on his son's shoulder. "No matter what we do," he said, "there's bound to be someone who disagrees with us. I think it's up to us to decide how we travel." Sage and Sugar. Sage Jalaluddin Rumi is one of the pillars of Sufism. Many people came to him for advice and a wise word. One day a neighbor woman came to him with a boy and said, "I have already tried all the ways, but the child does not obey me. He eats too much sugar. Please tell him that this is not good. He will obey, because he respects you very much." Rumi looked at the child, at the trust in his eyes, and said, "Come back in 3 weeks." The woman was completely at a loss. It's such a simple thing. Unclear, people came from faraway countries, and Rumi helped them solve big problems at once. But she obediently came 3 weeks later. Rumi looked at the child again and said, "Come back in another 3 weeks." Here the woman could not stand it, and dared to ask what was the matter. But Rumi only repeated what he had said. When they came for the 3rd time, Rumi said to the boy, "Son, listen to my advice. Don't eat a lot of sugar, it's bad for your health." "Since you advise me, I won't do it anymore," the boy replied. After that, the mother asked the child to wait for her outside. When he came out, she asked Rumi why he didn't do it the first time, because it's so easy. Jalaluddin confessed to her that he himself liked to eat sugar. And before giving such advice, he had to get rid of this weakness himself. At first he decided that 3 weeks would be enough, but he was mistaken. One of the signs of a real master is that he will never teach what he did not pass himself. The master is honest, and first of all with himself. His words are merged with the realization. The words of the master come from his personal experience. His wisdom lives in himself, not in the scriptures.